Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Good morning. Good morning. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection, another Saturday morning. Today's title is Food, which could have also been called Eating. Food, delight, health, and weight. Right? When it comes to food, these words are very, very critical because we all love to eat. We like to delight on food. And then, but then our health needs to be also a factor in how and what we eat. And then the pounds. I think everybody's worried about the pounds. The pounds not only give you a look that you might not like, pounds, but it also can generate chronic conditions. In other words, overweight or obesity. So thank you so very much for joining. I want to say that this show is show number 52, and this is the last show of the first year. So we're ending the first year. We're celebrating the first anniversary, and we're very happy. I am very satisfied that we've been able to do 52 shows so far. I would say over 150 guests have come through our program or have been here, which also makes me very, very happy. I've known a lot of you. Thank you so much if you're listening. Thank you for your expertise and for offering it free of charge to the community. So again, first anniversary, 52 shows, first year. Please know that this show airs on radio, 1190 AM, 107.5 FM. It also goes through Facebook Live at AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, YouTube. You can find a YouTube channel under the same name. We are also on podcasts. So those of you that like to just kind of be driving and you download these shows, and again, 52 shows, you might find one that interests you. So let's get to the subject. I want to introduce our two guests today and get right down to the subject because we need all the time that we can have. First of all, to my left, we have Monica Guerrero. She's a registered dietitian.
Yes.
Registered dietitian, and you work at Mountain Park Health Center in Maryvale.
Maryvale, yes.
Man, so you picked this career. You make nutrition as your career. You must believe in it.
Yeah, I can't believe it actually happened because I love nutrition and, like you mentioned, I love eating as well. And I just knew I would never get tired of talking about food. And it's really great that I can keep doing that and get paid for it.
All right. And also we have Maria Silva. You're also a registered dietitian, and you are the manager at Family Wellness Program at Society of St. Vincent de Paul Medical Clinic. Did I get it right?
You did get it right. Buenos dias. Yes, I am one of the managers at the Family Wellness Program.
And you also picked this as the career that you are pursuing, that you are actually already employing. Why did you do this?
I think I really love empowering people with knowledge and letting them know that I believe that you can be healthy, really having a little bit of everything you want. And I love food. Food is one of my reasons why I wake up. I wake up because I'm hungry.
Wow, of course. You know, this is probably the third show, if not more, that we've done on the issue of nutrition. And this just shows that this is an important matter, and especially to Latinos, because statistics show that obesity affects the African-American Black community more than any other community, and then we're second. It affects us in second place. The African-Americans still being affected more by obesity. And then comes the Anglo-Saxon community, and then the Asian community. Yeah. So we are second, and I think we all know that eating affects your health. And then eating also makes you a little bigger, right? You increase in pounds, and a lot of times people don't like that. And there's a whole lot of programs about how to lose weight and how to look better, etc. And so we wanted to bring you, as registered dietitians to help us. We need your help. We need to make a difference. I think we need a breakthrough. I believe we need to make a breakthrough with the Latino community in terms of we need to somehow come to a deeper realization of the importance of eating, but then how eating is really affecting us in many ways. And we understand that obesity is not all due to eating. It can be genetics, right? And where you live, the air that you breathe, etc. I mean, in health-wise. But anyway, we want to zero in on eating today. And I use 3 words very, very purposely, and that is delight. Who does not like to eat? And then health, because it is very much linked to our health. I think many people are getting sick, and it may have something to do with what they're eating. And then, of course, the pounds. Nobody likes extra pounds, right? So let's, I started looking into this, and I realized that the Bible is full of the concept of eating. And I will get to it a little bit later on. And even, Gandhi?
Yeah, of course.
Gandhi. Let me read this, and then I'll start asking you some questions. Gandhi believed that we should eat to live and work. Very common sense, right? He used a minimalistic approach to diet. He propagated that we should consider food as energy, even as medicine that is required to keep our body healthy and fit for work. Hence, we should take only that which is required in minimum quantity. We should not eat to appease our taste buds. Can you imagine?
I think it's a beautiful way to look at things, and obviously there's very few of us who do that. Where we live in the more, the supersized me millennium, I guess, the age, the era. So we've definitely moved away from that. And if we were to go back to our ancestors, I believe that that's what they used to do, because there was not a lot around. You would eat, and you were kind of like almost budget your food so that you would have enough for the year, right? So if you were to kill a chicken to eat it, then you were not going to kill the chickens, because then you would run out of chickens. The chickens provide you eggs. Same thing with the cows. You wouldn't go through your cows because the cows provide you milk.
Right.
So there was this respect for food that I think we've lost through time.
Right. And, I grew up the first 12 years of my life in Mexico. We were very poor. I ate beans 3 times a day. And we had meat every once in a while. We could not have milk because it was too expensive for us. So we mixed it with café. So we would have café con leche because we couldn't afford to buy. We would just buy a litro of milk, and that we have to divide it into all the kids. So sometimes I even wonder if I wasn't better off then than now. Now that I have more money, to make my needs, to make ends meet and a little extra perhaps, now I can indulge in more stuff. But sometimes you wonder, am I better off or not? So let me ask you the first question, and let me start with you, Monica. What has been your impression, or what is your impression now about eating as opposed to before you took this profession? In other words, we were probably aware, but how has your impression deepened in terms of this matter of eating?
Well, I, through working in the clinic over the past year, I have seen that there are a lot of different ideas of what beauty is and kind of what size is an attractive size to a lot of people. So a lot of times people don't want to be svelte and skinny, and sometimes people want to be curvy. And, I want to empower those people too. If someone of any size has a nutrition related illness, so if they have like fatty liver, or if they have high cholesterol, or, high blood pressure, down the line, those things can, impact their quality of life and can also contribute to their mortality. So I want to empower all people to be healthy. But I do think, as you mentioned earlier, it's kind of difficult to weigh whether having limited resources and only having beans and café con leche or being able to
Tortillas,
eat, tortillas. Yes, all of that. Or having, a seemingly infinite amount of food. And do you want it in conventional or do you want it organic? We're inundated with choices.
Right.
And it's really difficult to decide which one is better. But ultimately, I do think that the current situation that you're in, David, where you can make all of these choices, would be the best choice or the best situation to be in. But you do have to use your head. So you do have to assess, like, what are my goals? Like, what are my ideas of what my body should look like? And, own that. But also, not turn your back on health, if that's important to you.
Yesterday, my wife stays home. And that's a huge blessing to us. And we went to McDonald's. We broke our routine. Sometimes we do.
Yeah.
And I was asking questions. So I decided that the Big Mac, I'm going to take one of the meats and one of the breads that every time I go there. And I don't go a lot, but whenever I go, I like the taste, but I'm going to have to take those just to diminish or limit the number of calories, because you're talking about like 500 calories just on that one thing. So my point is that I believe that we all have to be educated. I think it's good to have more means to eat more stuff, but if you're not careful and you don't make it a point to take care of yourself, then it can be counterproductive. Yeah. So Maria, in your case, how did taking this a career has deepened your views about nutrition? And I almost want to ask, do you feel like a burden on your shoulders that you have to kind of carry out this important message to the community when I'm sure you notice it? I mean, even when I watch TV, I see when they show large amounts of people, number of people, you can tell, that there's a lot of people overweight. So what is your impression and how heavy, if at all, is this profession of yours when you see the situation and you know that that's not necessarily the best thing for us to just indulge?
I think my choice to work at Simmons and Nepal it's like how I show my the heavy burden that I have. We work with a lot of Latinos. That is actually our main population. And I love being able to not only teach them, but also show them. Again, I believe that there is a balance. That's the way that you have to do. I grew up in Mexico. Actually, my first 12 years of my life, I was born in Mexico as well. And just like you, we would eat a lot of beans, eggs, and tortillas like that. And I remember telling my mom, this again, really? And because I didn't understand, you're a kid. And now I can only imagine like the pain my mom felt, because you're a kid and you want more. You want what your friends are eating and you're not able to have it because we were very poor too. And so being able to carry this, and since I took on this profession, I think my way of looking at food has changed. I've always loved food, but now I look at food as nutrients. And that's one of the ways that I think you can understand when you're choosing to eat something, you're really choosing to either feed your body or starve your body from certain nutrients that you need. So I think Big Macs I think they're good, but you did the right thing. You chose the best of what you were provided, right? So you love the Big Mac, but you took some of those extra calories that are not necessarily needed, but you kept everything else that you just love. And I think that's the way to do it, to find that balance.
And I wanted to add that when I was, I think, 8 years old, I used to work for a family. I used to help a family to milk the cows. And you know what the pay was? A breakfast.
Wow.
I was motivated when I was like 8 years old to go get up at 5 in the morning to go and help them with the cows, etc., because they would invite me to eat with them. So that breakfast was like, I don't know, 10 times better than ours, You would have the milk, you would have the dessert, the tortillas, the queso, the chiles, the carnes. Oh, I'm telling you, it just like...
It was like a feast.
I used to go work. I was too young, but I wanted that plate, and that made me get up early in the morning to go and work a little bit.
I think you brought a really good point. We used to work for our food. We used to know what getting the food was. And now we just go to the store, you grab a gallon, and you go. So we don't understand the work that it takes to bring the food from the farm to the table. And there's that huge disconnection.
Right. We have to go on our first break. We're coming back to the nitty-gritty. I'm going to ask you to tell us, how do we eat in the morning, in the afternoon, during the day, in the evening, etc. Stay with us. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection, a radio platform, also social media. We have the purpose of educating, celebrating, and connecting the community. We've been doing this already for 1 year. I am so happy and glad that we've managed to do 52 shows. Thank you so much for helping us spread the word, and we ask you to keep spreading the word so that more people get this important information. You know, I had a brief conversation with Monica, I believe it was this week, and I told her that it seems to me like the concept in America is that they have come up with at least 4 products that that seems to include everything that we need, right? You have the burritos, you have the tortas, you have the hamburguesas, and then you have the hot dogs. So you have bread in them, you have meats in them, and some kind of vegetables in them. So I have to believe that they kind of put some thought into it and said, oh, yeah, let's give them everything. And then that way they'll think, you know, that this is it. What's wrong with that? You know, what is wrong with that? They are including all of what we need, I think. You know, what is it? Your proteins, your carbohydrates, etc. So let's get to the nitty-gritty. What are we supposed to be concerned when we deal with food? Let's come to the morning or the whole day. I mean, however you want to paint the pictures, especially how you encourage those that come for help. How do you educate them?
So one of the things that's important to keep in mind is your individual needs. So if you're a construction worker and you're going to, you know, do a lot of vigorous activity immediately after eating, you're going to need more than somebody who's going to work at a call center and they're going to maybe take a very controlled, scheduled break, a 15-minute break, and then their lunch hour after. But so you do need to take into account how much you need, right?
Okay.
So that's very different for everybody. But the next thing you would want to take into account is kind of looking past what, you know, a sandwich, like you're saying, if we look at a cheeseburger, it has bread. Okay, we have the grain group. It has cheese. That's your dairy group, your calcium-rich foods group. You have the meat. So that's your protein. And then you have like these really pathetic lettuce and tomato slices. And people, you know, they really sell that to me when I'm in my consultations. Oh, but I had this sandwich and it had this on it. It had a lettuce and tomato.
With that?
So they don't realize that there's perhaps a lot of sauce on it. Yeah. Those are the things that are particularly going to contribute to the hypertension, the high cholesterol.
Did you say salt?
The salt, yeah. So there's
Okay.
salt. There's fats that are not good for you. You know, there's definitely healthy fats and there's unhealthy fats. So if you overdo it with fats that are, say, solid at room temperature, like your mayonnaise or things like that you would easily find in something like that.
So in concept, we do need carbohydrates.
Yes.
We do need proteins, and we do need vegetables. So what can we substitute those that might be a little too salty?
Yeah, so cutting down sauces would be helpful. You know, not doing too much like ketchup or too much mayonnaise in that. And then also really amping up the vegetables as well. And there's also choices of protein. So if there's like a leaner protein, like, I don't know, like a ham or something that's not as greasy, like a 20% fat ground beef patty, then you'd be better off with that choice.
So, Maria, in the morning, I mean, what do you think Latinos eat in the morning? I mean, a lot of people just go with coffee, but I think what do we have in the morning?
I do think it's usually like coffee and a piece of bread. And I think that is the problem. Like Monica was saying, you know, you need to understand what are your needs, your individual needs. But I think we also need to understand that we need to pair things with protein. We forget about protein very often. There's very inexpensive proteins that are like eggs. You can buy a dozen eggs for like $1 or $2. So pairing your breakfast with some sort of protein so you can last throughout the day and not have that blood glucose going really high in the morning with your pan dulce and your coffee.
So the protein is what gives us the energy?
It's what helps us sustain a lot of that energy.
Okay.
So that's why you need the vegetables, the proteins, and the carbs, because you need that combination of the nutrients so your blood glucose is on
So those
spike.
three we always have to pay attention
Yeah.
to. Carbs, proteins and vegetables.
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about the carbohydrates? What are the different types that can be more recommended than others on the family of carbs?
I love carbs, by the way. They're my favorite group of all. But we do need to give preference to the complex carbohydrates, so like the whole grains. Yes. And we also need to understand that potatoes and corn are not a vegetable. Potatoes and corn go in the carbs section. And at the Family Wellness Program, we actually put beans in there as well as your vegetarian.
We do that as well.
Beans as a carbohydrate?
Yes.
They do have a little bit of protein.
Are they considered protein as well, the beans?
Yeah, so in the diabetic exchange system, every protein, like a 1 ounce of protein, a small portion would have 7 grams of protein. So a serving of beans would have that, but it has more carbohydrates. So for that reason, we also classify that at Mountain Park as the grain group.
So if someone goes to, say, a famous coffee place and then grab a coffee packed with sugars and maybe grab a muffin
Pan
of some sort of pan dulce, that is not good. I mean, let's be very blunt. That is not good.
No, and people do it a lot. People go to places like, popular coffee shops, and they do frappuccinos. Okay. And then to the frappuccino, you add like that whipped cream on top, and then like you said, some sort of muffin. You're asking for a very big spike in your blood because it's early in the morning, and then to starve throughout the day because again, nutrients. You didn't give any nutrition to your body. You give a lot of sugar.
So you basically have a sugar meal right there.
It was like a dessert.
In a lot of sugar.
Yes. Liquid cake with caffeine.
Okay. So what can somebody add? Let's focus in the morning. We still have 6 more minutes in this segment. We're in the morning. I'm getting up. I'm in a hurry. The alarm sounded off. And what can I do to be more balanced with my eating then? So if I'm used to coffee, what can I do? Do I add the coffee maize, is it recommended to just eat it alone with what is it? I mean, coffees, breads, what else?
Coffee, you can have coffee. That's not a problem unless like you're advised otherwise by your, care physician. But having milk or soy milk or almond milk, something that's going to give you calcium is something that I would recommend over like vanilla coffee mate, which is incredibly popular, or powdered creamer, which has like a lot of dextrose in it, which is a carbohydrate. And then like most of my patients are Spanish speaking. So I recommend doing like eggs with nopales and pico de gallo and really going hard on those vegetables. In the morning. Yeah. And then you can have a couple of corn tortillas, or if they want to do like 100% whole wheat bread, that's fine too. But just like 2. Because you don't want to like really spike your blood sugar in the morning. You do want to get that protein.
So be very careful with the sugar elements.
Yes.
And make sure you get proteins. Can you tell us again elements that contain proteins that are very much recommended, say, in the morning?
So there's things like animal sources. All animal sources have protein. So your chicken, your beef, pork, turkey. Eggs, I think, are great in the morning, and you can eat the entire egg. No need to leave out the yolk. Have an egg, but there's also nuts. There's also plant proteins that you can have, like peanut butter. My patients that need to have bread in the morning, I'm like, okay, we'll have a slice of bread with some peanut butter, some sort of almond butter.
Slice of bread with peanut butter,
and then we go back to the whole grains, a whole grain bread. And you know what's
is that real? Whole grain, it is
if
whole.
If it says 100% whole grain, you're definitely off on a better start than bread that just says multi-grain. That's definitely like a trick.
So other than the looks, does it really contain more nutrients to the body?
Yeah.
Much more. It has fiber. Fiber is the beautiful thing your body needs.
And is that more expensive typically?
No, not at all. But Monica brought a good point. Make sure you don't fall into the tricks because companies want to sell, right? They want to make a profit. So they will put things on the labels and make things look like things are not. So make sure you look at your ingredients list and make sure the first ingredient says whole grain. Whole grain, whatever grain you want, wheat, butter, whatever.
So whole grain is a must in the morning or in your regular consumption of bread.
Yeah, either that or like a fruit. You can also do that as well. But whole grain, yes.
Okay, so the morning people get up, maybe they can prepare it in the night before, the ensaladita de fruta or something. Maybe you get an egg but dump a lot of vegetables in it. That's what my wife does. She's so good in preparing huevos because she'll dump a lot of vegetables.
Yeah,
and it's
that's why
so
you have all
delicious.
this energy. You're getting all that extra iron and magnesium, and
Great.
it's working.
So people can use eggs. How about boil as opposed to fried eggs? Because sometimes we
great.
also boil the eggs.
Yeah, that's convenient.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're kind of like on the run, if you're a college student, a high school student, or if you're somebody working at a call center or some other sedentary place, that's something that you can kind of eat incognito. That's good.
So people who have very physical jobs, construction being one of them, do you recommend the same principles, the same concept, but in larger quantities?
Absolutely.
Okay, so that's the only difference.
Yeah,
basically.
you want that energy to sustain that worker. So when there's a worker that's having like eggs and potato burrito, 2 of those or 3 of those with some, coffee with a ton of sugar in it, they're going to crash and burn eventually, like maybe an hour, or if they're lucky, maybe 2 hours later. So you don't want that to happen. If you have fiber in your meal, if you have like we mentioned before, the whole grain, getting that. If you're using potatoes, you want to make sure you also have that skin to add on that fiber. Then you are going to have a more sustained level of energy.
We tend to go straight to the cereals in the morning. Are there any that you think are okay? Just buy those that are not too sugary. Is there any principles on cereals conflicts? Because they're very practical. You just grab them, dump some milk, and go. How about that?
They're very practical. You're right. And I think okay is the right word, because cereal really is more like dessert. It's really high in sugar. But there are some that are better than others, such as Cheerios, that are in regular Cheerios, please, not the Honey Nut, that have more of the fiber and less of the sugar. But there are other things you can do that can be very convenient. Boiled eggs, like you were saying, you can boil those at night, pack them and go. It's easy. You can eat on the go. No need to you don't even need to wash the dishes. You can put them in little like bags and just,
amazing.
Yes, go. So, with cereals, if you must, so let's really try and do the high fiber, low sugar ones.
High fiber, low sugar. That's the key.
Like bran flakes, not raisin bran.
And the kind of meals that people consume. Any concepts of the 2%, the 0%? How about that? Is any concepts on that?
So it really depends, but I usually try to ask people to do 2% because people are really used to eating the whole milk. So let's move them slowly to the whole milk and then into the non-fat if needed. And I say if needed because I really like to look at the individual as a whole. What are some of the changes that we need so we can prioritize?
So you actually, when you consult patients, you look at them, you see them, you ask them questions before you prescribe some kind of recommendations.
Yeah.
Good. We have to go on our break. Stay with us. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you. Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection with a very, very important show. It's food, delight, health, and weight. We eat for delight, for delightment. We eat for health reasons, and we eat for weight reasons as well. I mean, even when you go to the doctor, sometimes the doctor says, hey, you need to lose some weight. And then they hit the diet, right? So let me bring another point because I think it's important. One of the things that I've noticed is that, those of us who work in this kind of work, there's always events that we go to. And every time I used to go to events, it says, man, it's going to be a good meal today. Now it says, wait a minute, you have to be careful what you're going to eat in that meal. I usually don't eat the full plate anymore. I mean, at all. I never eat the full plate anymore. I'm trying to convince my wife that we share half of the plate when we go out and eat because I think portions are killing us. I think we just eat too much. But let me bring another point. Fiestas, quinceañeras, birthdays, they're always with us. Day of this, the day of the child, the day of the this, and the day of the that. What are we going to do when we come to celebrations? Because I think come Monday, we go to work all heavy because we really, our body took a toll on how much we ate over the weekend. What are we going to do with that? What's wrong with the Latino fiestas, everything that we eat, the ribs and the carnes asadas and all that? Can we bring more balance to that, you think? Is there room for it?
Oh, I think there's definitely room for improvement. I think it's as simple as bringing, like you were mentioning, the ensalada, the nopales for any party. Nopales, calabacitas, there's chayote. There's so many very cultural vegetables out there that I think we've kind of forgotten and moved away from. So one of the things that Latinos do, and my mom always does, and I can see how it works, but it can definitely work against us, is let's have more. Más vale que sobra que falte. And that mentality is what definitely kills. You want to have an overwhelm of food because it's better to have leftovers, which I agree. You don't want to, like, all of a sudden, oh my God, we have people and you don't have enough food. But we usually have enough food for, like, to feed the entire neighborhood. Sometimes I'm like, Mom, how many people are coming?
Right. The whole
Get the
neighborhood.
chairs. Get the extra chairs.
And sometimes we said this the last show that we had, that a lot of times we equate abundance for, I don't know, not being poor or treating the guests nicely or whatever. But we have to bring balance all the time. I always, when we go to, gatherings, family gatherings, I don't like it because I know they're going to bring stuff that is no good. I don't know what they call it, los biónicos and the churros. And it is good, but honestly, I think we all abused it. And I think if they didn't bring us much, maybe that would help us a little bit. What's your take on that, Monica?
Those occasions, they should be enjoyed. But I think those are the times to have a sensible portion, which is not an exact measurement. That's an arbitrary term. But you should enjoy some of that food. So kind of going back to making that specific portion recommendation. So avoiding seconds. So getting your plate, making sure there's rábanos, calabacitas, nopales, all of that you can possibly manage to get in. You can have your pepinos. You can do all of that. Having your portion of meat. Generally, and again, it depends on your size, but we recommend approximately a palm size for
which
your
is
protein.
Very small, pretty
yeah,
much.
And then if you have, like arroz or something, macaroni salad, you want it to be probably roughly around there, that same amount, and then do the rest with, like I said, all of those other. There's a lot of other vegetables, and they are very much so part of the Latino dining experience, but we do forget about them.
Right.
And we shouldn't.
Sometimes I notice that we have frijoles, arroz, and tortillas. Are they kind of like belong to the same family in one plate?
Yeah, well, they're very different, right? But they all have carbohydrates.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's an important
They're
aspect
heavy in
to, I think, to kind of watch out for,
learn.
right?
Yes.
So if you're having tortillas, maybe at the most arroz, but don't add a third, a fourth item that is carbohydrate.
Yeah, or make them like tiny little sample like sizes too. Have a little.
So now
bit
you are touching upon quantity. I believe one of the main problems that we have, I usually tell people, if you're having problems with your eating, continue to eat the same things, but just the quantity, bring it better, but bring it low. Then once you get empowered, because this is empowering, once you understand the concepts of eating and you begin to see results, you get excited and you get empowered, and then you can do anything after that. So to get the empowerment and the encouragement, at least keep doing the same thing, but bring the portions down.
I think that's a great thing to do because you're not asking for a huge change. You're asking for every little step counts, right? Tiny changes. And I think when you go to a party, before you even serve yourself, walk around and check what's there. Because sometimes we start serving ourselves and you're like, oh my God, but there's this and there's that and there's that. You end up with like so many things in your plate. So before you even serve yourself, what I always try to do, especially with dessert, because dessert is my favorite meal of the day. I first walk around and I'm like, okay, I have all of this, and then you're able to keep track. So I know that there is tortillas, and there's like corn and flour tortillas, which very different things because of the size. We're talking about portions. But then there's also like the beans and rice, like you're saying. So knowing what you're up against, knowing everything that's there, and making wise choices based on what you want and what's available.
One of the things that I try to do is before a meal, maybe an hour before, I start eating these little things, just so that I'm not as hungry. Because if you feel hungry when you're going to go have your main meal, you're going to eat more. But if you start taking something and then you're not as hungry, maybe water, maybe almonds, maybe some kind of grains, it helps me to come to the main dish less empty, so to speak, and it helps me a lot. So do you think that's or when we have this carne asada, so why is it recommended maybe to have the salad first or not necessarily, as long as you combine it portion
So there is a lot of evidence that if you drink water 30 minutes before eating, it can make you feel satisfied quicker and off of, kind of fewer calories. So yeah, that's definitely a helpful tip. And like you mentioned, before an hour or so, before going to the party, you're snacking on this and that. I also hear that from my patients. What do you snack on? Do you snack on nuts or vegetables? So you have to also take into account, all right, probably, snacking on Takis and blocks of cheese, not the best idea. But if you're going to have some, celery or like the little rábanos or whatever, if you're preparing like a pico de gallo and you're having that, that's going to, give you a little bit more of a benefit, because the vegetable group in general is going to be lower in calories, but it still has that fiber and it has nutrients like vitamin C. And I mean, the list goes on, and those will help you feel satisfied.
In my house with my wife, we moved from the 3 meals to more of a 4 meals. But main meals, only 2 now. We only have 2 main meals, and then in between you get something more. And it's working out very well. But again, portions is so critical, and understanding the carbohydrate thing and the sugars. I think carbohydrates and sugars really kill us, don't you? I think we need lots of understanding on those.
And they go together. Cake, carbohydrates, and sugar.
Right.
So yeah, it definitely can. You have, I think, the right word. It can definitely kill us. But then I just remembered about your burrito. I kind of want to go back to that, because you brought a really good point. Burritos really provide you a little bit of everything. They can really be nutritious. I do believe a burrito can be nutritious. However, you have these massive tortillas, and then you put beans, rice, potatoes, and eggs, and you better run a marathon after that, because that was so many carbs right there.
It's too heavy, huh?
Yes. But if we can portion control, back to the points we've been making today, you choose a regular size flour tortilla, which means the small one, and then you stuff it with vegetables, some sort of protein. You have a complete meal right there on the go. People buy a lot of freezer things, talk about making things convenient. So go ahead and buy your pre-make your burritos, and on the morning, just take it with you and toss it in the microwave.
Yeah. We have 5 minutes on this segment. I really want to come to lunch, because we said we wanted to talk about breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think a lot of people who work, it is so difficult. I mean, maybe breakfast they might manage to do, because breakfast typically is a little lighter. You can prepare things at home, but then when you have to go to work and I mean, I think most people, I don't know what your take on this is, but they go out and eat during lunch, and I think that's a killer. What's your take on that? What is your observation of your peers and your friends?
Yeah, generally to go out to eat, it's terrible on a financial front and on a healthcare front. So yeah, just trying to make that little extra effort on your weekend to make sure you have some salad greens. If you have whatever protein, ideally we want it to be lean. Just putting that on top and then having like a tortilla or something on the side, that's going to cost you significantly less. And it's going to be a lot lower in sodium, a lot lower in saturated fat. And it's just going to be fresh. You're going to make it on your own. You're going to appreciate it. You're going to get a little bit more connected to food rather than just getting it from a paper bag, eating it, and throwing all this garbage away. Those are those actions that make us more disconnected with food, and that's not good.
What would you tell somebody that they just definitely do not have the time, or they're just not going to do it? Meaning cook something to take to work. They just have to go out, maybe because they have too many meetings, what have you. What can they do at a restaurant that most of the food is very heavy in the wrong stuff? What can you tell them?
I get those patients all the time, especially people that work in construction. I don't know about you, but yes, it's very common. And then there's a bunch of other things that can happen. Life can always get complicated. So a lot of my clients get food from like food trucks. So I'm like, okay, before you even order, you need to literally analyze the menu and choose things that don't have the word fried next to it.
Fried?
Stay away from fried.
Okay, let's go slow. So fried stuff is not good. And I mean, I hear that they use these oils that are better than others. In general, fried things are not the healthiest things. Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying.
Okay.
And, I think the frying things like in lard, comes from our culture a lot, but because we didn't have a lot of those fats. We used to have a lot of carbs. We used to burn a lot of calories because we were outside working, and yes, you needed the fat. So yes, back then it was okay. And I have a patient say, well, when I was in mi pueblo, I'm like, yes, but you're not in your pueblo anymore. No, so come back here. You're
not burning as much.
Exactly. And here we don't even want to get out of the car. If you can do everything through a drive-through or order online, which we're pretty much at that age already, you would. So let's go ahead and stay away from fried. Let's go ahead and anything that has vegetables. Ask the lady for more vegetables. I always say, don't ask for a double portion, ask for a triple portion. Because double portion is nothing. But so if you do triple, then you're getting more. So look for those things that are not fried and that do have the vegetables in it and the lean proteins, like Monica has been saying. Let's go for the lean proteins.
With salads, I know that people tend to go to salads because we kind of generally think that's healthier. How about the dressing? Is that something to be concerned about?
Yeah, the dressing can be very caloric. So if you have that little container, the 2-ounce container that sometimes you'll see ranch dressing in or Italian dressing, sometimes that little thing can have 200 calories. That's like eating a pretty big tortilla worth of calories, you know. But the quality matters too. If it's an olive oil based dressing, then it's at least going to give you some monounsaturated fats that are good for you. If it's ranch dressing, like, just make sure the dietitian didn't see that, because that's not a healthy choice for your body.
You know what? I decided to do away with sugar on my coffee. I just added just a little bit of milk because it's a little bit bitter to me. Less sugar this year for me. And then I never order a soda in places because I believe that's like 360 calories. I mean, you burn about 360 calories if you walk 45 minutes.
I would argue you would have to walk more.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so let's just say, for the sake of argument,
Okay.
let's say you walk 45, but then you take it when you take a 16-ounce soda, you gain it back. So if you do both, can you imagine what the gain would be? You stop intaking those 300 plus whatever, and then you burn with the walk. So it's very important, and drinking soda is not the best thing. But anyway, we have another segment, and we're going to have to come to supper for dinner, because let's give some ideas to what happens in the Latino homes at night, you know. And then do we eat too late? And then right after we eat, we go to sleep. Is that good? Is that bad? Stay with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. We'll be right back.
Welcome to AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. Educate. Celebrate. Connect. Arizona Hispanic Connection.
Thank you for staying with us. This is AARP, Arizona Hispanic Connection. This is our last segment on food, delight, health, and weight. I just wanted to throw in a concept that I found in the Bible. And it's not the full verse, but it says, their God is their belly. Meaning their stomach. Their stomach, their belly is their God. And I just wanted to bring that phrase because sometimes, man, eating is so good that sometimes our belly is our God. You know, we really, really dump a lot of stuff in our being. Let's go to supper. Let's go to dinner in a Latino home. They come home, I have to say, between 5 and 6, if you have to pick up the kids and this and that. You come at 5 and 6, what can you do? If you didn't cook the night before, it's going to be tough, isn't it? It's going to be easier for just to stop by and get a pizza or grab one of those things. Do you think that happens a lot? And what are the alternatives?
I think pizza it's a quick thing to go to, you know. And if you must, pair it with the salad. Just pair it with the salad and automatically do what you said, reduce the portions. Why? Because in my family, we used to get 2 pizzas. There's 5 of us. After we started pairing it with salad, we would get 1 pizza, and sometimes there's leftovers. So, yes, it's still pizza, but now you're eating less and you're pairing it with the salad. Of course, there's better options we can make. But it doesn't matter if it's once a week, once a blue moon, pair it with the salad. Always keep those vegetables in mind. And go to those places that will offer the best things, such as Subway. But even at Subway, be conscious of what you're getting, because Subway also has not the best deals sometimes.
And getting an entire foot long and eating that in one go, you know, kind of regardless of what your caloric needs are, that's a big hit of carbohydrates at one moment.
Yeah.
So.
You know, I just get amazed at the reaction of people when they see something. I mean, I don't know, they get excited when they see a big portion. I get scared. I really get scared with big portions. You know, when I see the amounts of food, I says, man, if we are not careful, if we are not disciplined, that's going to hurt us in the long run. You know,
you bring a really good point, and I get scared too, but I get scared because of this disconnection that you brought up earlier. Why is this so relatively inexpensive in such big portions? How is this food made that they can give me so much for so little?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
So why?
Well, and that's because of
No quality, perhaps?
low quality and the combinations made in there. I always tell my clients, you get a burger for $1 and something. How many times can you get, or how many burgers can you make if you were to make a pound of full meat? How many burgers can you really make? And add all those things that they do and sell them for $1 or something without adding anything else in there that is not necessarily meat. Yeah. That really scares me. And I think that's that disconnect that Monica has been talking about. You don't understand where your food comes from. Sometimes people don't know how food is made. I remember one of my friends said one day, "Oh, I learned how totopos are made with your chips." And I laughed because I thought she was kidding, honestly. This is a 20-something-year-old that had no idea that chips were fried tortillas. So it's scary. It's really scary.
And our kids are eating a ton of chips.
They are.
Of every kind.
They are.
and I mean, we're not even focusing on our kids, but our kids are eating a lot of stuff. And I was even thinking, the diets at school are kind of changing. I honestly don't know how good they are. I have to assume they're a little better, but I'm sure there's lots of room for improvement.
Yeah, so schools have more lax restrictions now. When we had the Obama administration, there was there was teeth behind the regulations, but now it's toothless. So people can bend those rules, and there's no repercussions in place for it. And in schools, there oftentimes are snack bars and things like that, and they have talkies. People giving their kids money. If parents have a goal of wanting to control their children's weight, kind of. One of the recommendations is not letting them go to school with money so they can buy that. And if there is a
That's
bag
a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah, right. But, I realize that people do eat that. It's also important to know what the serving size is. So for Cheetos, 20 Cheetos, okay, we're done. Takis, 15, 16, we're done. Okay. That's okay to have it, once every now and then. I'm not saying every other day, but I'm saying fewer than that amount of time. Right. You can have that, but you have to control the portion. So if you're having that and then later you're having a big dinner, with dinner plates, you want to make sure generally your plate diameter is no bigger than 9-10 inches for a dinner plate. Real
quick, the proportion of the three meals, are we talking about kind of like the same, you think, in general, in a good balance? It's the quantity, the intake. Are we talking about the same, or typically you eat more at one of the meals?
Go ahead.
I think it depends on your preference.
Okay.
I do believe that you can be about typically the same if you are following the play method, a diabetic play method that has more vegetables, a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbs, then we're good. And then you're fine. But to go with both of your points you guys made earlier, the things we eat before we have any meal that we're snacking on, it's very common for kids to be snacking on things like Takis. And how many times do you actually count how many you have? How many you eat out of the bag?
Right.
And parents buy these massive bags. So don't buy those things. Just don't even bring them in the house, because if they're in the house, we're going to eat them.
One of the I'm sorry, I have to say this. One of the things that I think is so unhealthy is chicken wings, because of the amount of skin that you have to take, and most of it, they're not really good. It's just skin that you're eating. Let me just bring one last point, unless you also want to comment on that. But what's the issue of eating and then going to bed too soon? Because I have incorporated walking into my morning, but I told my wife even this morning, I have to incorporate walking in the evening as well. Your take on that?
So with eating, you want to make. So I hear a lot of people that they're on what we would call the action phase. So they're like coming to me and they're saying, I'm on a weight loss plan, or I'm going to control my diabetes, and I don't eat after 6 p.m. But they may go to sleep at midnight. So to kind of get more specific on the recommendation on when you should stop eating before you go to bed, you want to leave 2 to 3 hours. So there's a lot of people that suffer from like agruras or the acid reflux. So you definitely want to lean more toward that 3-hour mark. If you do have that, which is very common in the Latino community because we have all the spices and everything, you want to make sure you're not reclining. So you're not laying down and like watching TV and things like that. You can be seated, but walking would help. Walking would be helpful as well.
Right.
But if you must eat, or your meal time is really close to bed, then be very careful of what things you're eating, because going back to the wings and the reflux, so if you have something really high in fat or sugar right before going to sleep, that's a recipe for a disaster. Yeah. Not only because you're then just going straight to bed and being very inactive, but then you're really going to be, I think you're kind of sacrificing a lot of things. If you're suffering from acid reflux, you're not being able to have a good quality of sleep, which is going to affect your next day. And if you have low energy, your brain goes to food because food gives us that sensation.
Right.
So it's almost like a domino effect, right? You do one thing, you have your high sugar, high carb breakfast in the morning, and you go to a Monster. High sugar, and sometimes a lot of those energy drinks, that's again, it escalates.
And talking about Monsters, I personally don't drink, but I noticed that people also, we have a big problem of alcohol intake. When I go to parties, I get amazed at how people can take 6, 10, 20, 30 beers in one night. It's just, how do they do it? If I was to drink one, I would be on the floor, and then the wine. I mean, we're not going to address that. I don't know if in the future we might address the issue of drinking, but that is also a big issue, but not necessarily on the drinking side, but on the body. It takes a toll. And obviously we don't have time for that, for this kind of angle in this show. But we are about to end our show, and I am really happy because even though, we were kind of all over the place, but I think it is very helpful to have a conversation so that we begin to understand. In the couple minutes that we have, can you kind of wrap it up and tell us what are basic things that we need to be aware in our eating? And I know, I think we covered that in the first segment. Just basic things, morning, lunch, dinner, just basic things that we need to be aware of.
So, quickly, just making sure that you try to make half of your intake approximately vegetables, non-starchy vegetables. So that would exclude potatoes, corn. You can have those in your grain group. Making sure that you're having lean proteins. So if you're looking at labels, you would want to have something that's, fewer than 7 grams of fat. Most times, trying to get plant proteins in when you can. Making sure that you're having 3 servings of a calcium-rich food, kind of going over that can have some bad effects to your health. And then fruit, 1 or 2 a day is fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also being very mindful of the portions. So like you were saying, paying attention to how hungry I am and how satisfied I am, because you eat and next thing you know, you're stuffed. So really paying attention to how am I eating? How fast am I eating? Because it takes 20 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain, hey, I am done. But most of us, do any of us eat in 20 minutes? So really paying attention to that and pacing yourself and giving yourself that time to let your brain catch up. So, and drinking water. Water is huge, especially with summer that's already here. Right. So let's drink water. Even if you substitute one of your sodas a day or one of your whatever sugary drinks for a bottle of water, that's really going to have huge a great impact. Yeah.
You're very gracious. I would say dump the soda altogether.
Yeah, right. But if it's impossible, let's do it one step at a time. But yes, dump is a key.
Right. One last question. A lot of people say if you're gonna eat healthy, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. I can't afford it. What would you say in just a few seconds on that? Is it way more expensive, or by lowering the portions, it's about the same in the end?
It is not expensive. Go to the specials, like buy off of the weekly ads, and go to like Ranch Market and other stores have like miércoles de frutas y verduras. Go there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then going back to basics, just going with your corn tortillas, making beans, not adding all those extras into the beans. Don't add, your bacon and everything in it. Just keep it simple.
Yeah. One of my favorite plates, if not the favorite plate, is beans with all the cilantro, tomate, chilito. That is my favorite plate. I'm not kidding you. When my wife prepares that, I am so happy.
You made me hungry.
Yeah, after all these years of eating beans in your past, you still love them.
I can eat beans every day. I love them. And, now the milks also, how about almond milk? Is that better than the regular milk?
I have a lot of diabetic patients, and every 8 ounce of cow's milk has a carbohydrate exchange, so it's a serving of a carbohydrate food. So if you do switch to unsweetened almond milk, that's no longer considered a carbohydrate food. So for people that are looking to manage blood sugar, it is very helpful. Okay. And it doesn't have the saturated fats, the animal fats that can promote inflammation.
Perfect. Monica Guerrero, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Maria Silva, it's been a great conversation. This is not going to be the last. Again, this is show 52. We are celebrating our first anniversary. Thank you so very much for following us. Keep spreading the word. This was AARP Arizona Hispanic Connection. Have a great week.